All right, so today again, me and my pops, and we are here to speak about what is healing. Um, yeah, how should we start off with this? Well, with what healing means.
Sure.
It's an easy way. So, from what you said, from what you've looked up, healing means to become whole.
Yep.
And to become whole must mean we're broken, must mean we're
Yep. Scattered, shattered, broken. Yeah.
okay.
Missing pieces. Yep. And the problem is that we think of healing in the Western sense of the word is by our doctors and our medical system, which doesn't heal anything. They are there to keep you alive. They are there to suppress symptoms. So when we do our own healing, the programming in our mind, most people they're just looking to suppress symptoms. So they're not trying to heal or make whole. They're trying to suppress symptoms, and so that's why most people, when they're not feeling good or not feeling well or having issues, whether it be emotional, physical, spiritual, whatever, they like to eat because eating distracts them. So they're suppressing that symptom. And that's how people go about their so-called healing, like with breathing techniques or Tai Chi or yoga or whatever, meditation. It's all a distraction. So the true healing is facing everything and everything in your life that you shrug off and you've gone, oh, well, it's just the way it is. Oh, well, we all have to deal with it. Oh, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. No, we have to recognize and accept things for what they are. We have to recognize and accept other people's faults, our own faults, and why this is even transpiring in order to start the healing process. Because otherwise we're just putting Band-Aids on everything and treating symptoms. We're not truly healing.
Yeah, when we try to look for ways to heal, especially people on the spiritual path, we just love putting our attention everywhere else but to the main root issue. And just our daily lives, our attention is everywhere, 40 hours a week at least for work, family, drama life, keeping up with things, paying bills, everything like that. So we constantly, and even worries about this or that, worries about politics, worries about the economy. I mean, there's a wide range of things that are just useless thoughts in our head that, so our attention is just scattered everywhere. And so this healing, it's, you got, like you said, you got to recognize and accept things for what they are. And from there, once you see how useless and meaningless a lot of things we do are, and now it's time to take a step back. Take a step back and slow it down. Stop chasing the status quo. Stop making decisions to meet social or expectations from society or even with family and friends. And so we step back, we drop, we even drop the expectations to go out every weekend. We drop friends, not that you have to get rid of your friends, but taking that free time that little bit of free time you get from not sleeping and not working, and put that attention towards yourself, and then you're able to see and hear a lot more of what's going on within you, because it's an inner battle. It's an inner awareness. It's the truth isn't about extraterrestrials extraterrestrial visitations on Earth, communications with them. It's not about government corruption. It's not about commercial scams. It's not about religious scandals. It's not about any of those types of things. It's not about anything external outside of from your reality, from your perception, from your vision. So it's literally because we all crave the truth, right? And it's as simple as the truth, and we just get caught up in the embargo, but it's all within. It's all in your daily habits. It's all in your daily thinking. It's all in your thought processes. It's all in your cravings and desires. It's all in your choices, decisions, your behaviors. It's becoming aware of who you actually are and why you do the things you do, and the things that you do. Where do they come from? How were they made? What do they support? Who created that, in a sense of like how, yep. And so a lot of questioning within, and yeah.
You're not going to be able to heal. You're not going to be able to come whole within the mechanisms of the machine that broke you. So you have to keep that in mind. You can't, in order to heal, to become whole, you have to recognize the systems that are responsible for your brokenness and get outside of those systems in order to reclaim your wholeness. Because your jailer isn't going to give you the keys to get out of your jail cell. The predator and the predators that have been hunting you your whole life and feeding off your energy are not going to free you just because you're like, hey, look, I'm tired of playing the game. How do I heal? You got to completely come out of this. That's why it's so important to quit worshiping things outside yourself. Everything outside of yourself has contributed to your brokenness. So the only way you're going to be able to come whole is to go inside. Quit searching outside. You have all the answers. We have all the answers. They're still there. It's just they're laying latent. They're asleep. You have to wake them up. And how do you wake them up? You wake them up. They're asleep because they've never had any attention paid to them. You've never questioned. You've never shook those things inside of you awake. So,
Not only that, you've entouraged them with junk.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and through your belief systems of thinking that you're worthless and you're not worthy and you're not good enough and all these things, those things got piled way underneath all these beliefs and self-destruction of these toxic thoughts and beliefs that you have about yourself. Which is the main thing. I mean, that is how the whole system works, is by convincing you at a young age that you don't know anything and that you're worthless until you prove otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And how do they want you to prove otherwise? By going outside yourself to learn their knowledge, going outside yourself to expend your energy and attention on something else that will be gone in a few years, that gets destroyed. It's all useless, and the only thing that is worth anything is inside of you, and that's the one thing that we've never done, is gone inside. We're constantly looking for validation. We're constantly looking to fit in. We're constantly looking to keep up. We're constantly looking to play the game. We're constantly looking to climb another rung up the ladder. We're constantly looking for all of these things that mean nothing, mean absolutely nothing. You came into this world alone. You're going to come out of it alone, So you better start getting used to being alone. Mm-hmm. That's where the answers are.
Your state of being.
Yeah, your really state matters. Of being. Yeah.
If you can't be alone, that's rooted back to trauma, all that. But another thing to add is healing isn't about worrying about what the collective is doing. It's not. Also, a misconception is, well, my healing's going to do nothing and not everybody's going to heal, so there's no point in doing it. which is completely false. You know, healed, when you take it back to healed people heal people, and you know, your work, your healing matters, not just to yourself, but to set that example and set that example and be and inspire courageousness and give that inspiration to others, to let them know they can do the same and that there is another way out. Because you know, on my seeking path, getting caught up in all those modalities, it would have been real nice for someone to break these things down and tell me what it really was, instead of just selling me programs and selling me lessons and all this. Yeah.
Well, and people who think that, oh, well, nobody else is going to do it, so why should I? Nobody else is going to sacrifice, these things, so why should I? That's a slave mentality. You're addicted to these things, and you're using that as an excuse to not be personally responsible and disciplined in seeking your true healing. You're lazy. You're addicted to the comfortability of your box, and that box is what enslaves you. So anybody who's worried about what everybody else is doing hasn't even started their journey yet, because there's no room there's no room for this self-reflection and healing, thinking of using the excuse that nobody else is doing it as the reason why you're not going to do it. I mean, that's stupid. Mm-hmm. If you look around, this world's freaking crazy. It's gone nuts. Nothing makes sense. So because nothing makes sense, you're not going to make sense. I mean, it's just keeping yourself on the hamster wheel.
Yeah. And most people, they just want to, like you said, they just want to continue. They use that as an excuse so they can just continue the pleasures of life. Right?
Well, most people are afraid to be lonely. They're afraid to do something different that nobody else is doing, because then they feel alone. And there's a difference between being alone and feeling lonely. I'm alone all the time. I never feel fucking lonely. But I'm alone all the time, and it's the best thing I could ever do, because everything outside of me is nuts. Mm-hmm. So I'm finding my sanity within myself, and it's there, and I see that everybody else has it too. It's just they choose. It's a conscious choice, or even, well, it comes from the subconscious programming, but they make a conscious choice to remain comfortable in, and choose to keep on participating in these things. Because see, once you say, okay, I realize that the entertainment is all mocking me and mocking my abuse, and then you realize, okay, well, I should, the conscious, logical decision about that is to give it up. But that freaks people out, because they're addicted to these things, again, which this is all rooted in, the childhood trauma and abuse, and the fact that we were brought into slavery systems. People literally don't want to come to terms with that. Or they want to say, oh, I know things are bad, I know things are crazy, I know we're enslaved, but, got to do what you got to do. And it's just like, they get nowhere, That's literally slave thinking. It's literally slave thinking. And it's so obvious, that somebody can sit there and recognize that, and then just freely choose to remain and participate in those things that enslave them. I mean, that's lunacy. Yeah. Idiocracy.
And that just shows you, people can't get out of that box of comfortability and knowing and safety, the illusion of safety.
Well, and they can't get out of that box, because out of that box is being uncomfortable. And it's also the unknown. It's uncomfortable because it's unknown. And it's unknown, what does that remind them? It reminds them of being a child and being vulnerable again, and being that baby who just needed that safe space from their parents, but instead were forced to eat, sleep, shit, learn how to speak, learn how to do all these fucking things. And, they were unable to defend themselves. So, like, right now, they have all their defenses built up around them. So it's a comfortable spot. At least they know when they take a hit, they know where it's coming from, they know how it's going to feel, and they know how they can recuperate. But they're afraid that when they step out there and do something different, all their defenses are down. How are they going to defend themselves? How are they going to, where are they going to find their sustenance? Where are they going to find their dopamine hits? Where are they going to find their distractions? And that's what I'm trying to say is this healing is complete. You got to get rid of it. That's where the detachment phase comes in. You got to get rid of all your attachment to all that, because as long as if you're trying to heal and you keep on grabbing onto that rope that you're attached to, it's not going to work. You're trying to make yourself whole again. This is a journey. A journey is going into the unknown. It's not sitting comfortably where you in your little cell and thinking that you're going to find your freedom within your cell.
Yeah, and that's with this healing. You're not going to feel good every day. And like you said in one of your videos, you're gonna think you're gonna feel great one night, go to bed, and then wake up freaking out because you think you're losing your mind or something. But and that's only because you're doing something different. And not only that, everything about this healing we've been taught to not focus on, and seen as selfish as well as
selfish, crazy, don't do that. Like, and it just all goes back to like when I quit drinking and people started telling me, and I got that sugar habit, and people were coming up to me and they were like, because I was telling people I was always open about my shit, and I was like, I quit drinking, but now I'm so badly addicted to sugar. I'm eating 2-3 pounds of fucking candy every night because I'm so addicted. And they'd just be like, oh, don't be so hard on yourself. And these were the same people who were, came down on me for my alcoholism. So it was like, okay, so it's okay to be addicted to this, but it's not okay to be addicted to that. And that's when my eyes opened to how badly the social programming was, that anything is fine as long as everybody agrees it's fine. That's when I saw like where the whole group thing played into this, like, and I saw the mass hypnosis on the group and how mobs are so dangerous, because if the mob agrees on one thing and you don't agree on it, they're going to trample you, period. That's why in this healing process of becoming whole, we have to recognize that we don't need other people. We don't need anybody else. All we need is ourselves. That's fine if there are other people. That's fine. That's great to have other attachments, to other healed beings, healthy people. But all of these so-called relationships that we have with all of these broken, addicted, hurt, destroyed people, broken people that aren't healed. That's
those are people that gotta go.
They gotta go. They have to go. And there's no way that you're going to be able to hold on to those attachments and heal yourself. Again, those attachments are just like you trying to heal, but spending 6 hours a day in politics and in entertainment and in sports, fake sports, It's like, no, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't bat for both teams. You can't ride the fence on this. Either you're going to heal and reclaim yourself because you care about yourself and you love yourself, or you're going to continue to play in the games and give yourself over as a martyr and virtue signals. That way you can keep all your so-called friends and family who are all broken and abusive and toxic and traumatic and, and all your entertainment and all your distractions and all your breads and stuff. It's an either or. You can't play both. You can't have both. It's impossible. Absolutely impossible. You can have all that and keep all that, and then set aside an hour a day for your yoga class, and set aside a half an hour in the morning for your meditation, set aside a half an hour for your breathing. You can do that, but that's all virtue signaling. That's not going to get you anywhere. That's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. The healing is not in the modalities. The healing is in the reclamation of your authentic self and learning to trust yourself again, and coming to terms with the fact that you were born whole and that you were shattered and broken and your pieces have been taken all over the place, and you've been giving attention and worshiping the assholes who took it from you.
The recognition of your current state of being, the recognition of the character you play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the healing. Yeah. It's a lot of self-realization. Like you said, you don't need to do breathing exercises to learn something about yourself. It's literally just paying attention to your urges, your desires, your choices, your decisions, your attitudes, behaviors, all that. Um, yeah, I mean the healing is so simple. It's ridiculous how simple it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so
And
simple.
it's free.
Yeah.
The way we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about it's free, right? And that's the thing. People think like when it comes to healing, they spending the $600 on a course is probably going to be the best way to get that healing. You know, if it costs $600, it's probably going to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and man, these spiritual marketers are not playing, man. They sell breath programs for $1,500 and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of people, they think they're doing their healing, and they join these yoga classes, they join the gym, they join all these things, and again, it's because they're looking for a group. Like they're so afraid to be by themselves.
Yeah.
They are looking for a group. And why do they look for a group? They want validation. Or they can't be by themselves again because they have not faced their childhood trauma and abuse. They say they faced it. They're like, oh, I recognize it. I know that I was abused. I know what I went through. It's all good. No, it's not all good. You obviously have not faced it, because if you faced it, you would never say it's all good. You would call it for what it is, and because you can't so the healing process, you have to be constantly aware and focused and questioning every thought, word, and action that you do throughout the day. You cannot sit there and participate in these things with these same people, because in order to do that, and in order to heal you, so you have to constantly be questioning. So you're going to be hanging out with people and constantly going, oh shit, okay, well, I know we shouldn't be doing that. Why am I laughing at this? Why am I doing this? It's non-conducive. They can't go together. You're fooling yourself.
And because the way they're living, it's something you're so familiarized anyways that it will discourage you away from the meaningful things you're doing to heal.
Well, and again, it justifies you, because see, the people you surround yourself with are stuck in their ways. They obviously aren't healing, and they are. So, like, for instance, when I quit alcohol and I got the sugar addiction, all of these fat people, all these obese people, all these sick people that made fun of my alcoholism, they were telling me, oh, it's okay, it's okay. So what I'm trying to say is, when you're in with these groups, they're going to justify those things. Like you, when you sit by yourself, you're going to realize, oh, this is an issue, this is a problem I need to work on, I need to take care of this. But when you go in a group and you're around other people who have all these issues and problems, they're all going to be like, oh, don't worry about it. Don't be so hard on yourself. It's okay. It's okay. Here, come here, have this. Eat this chocolate ice cream. Here, have this fucking Snickers bar. Because they're distracting themselves. That's what it's about. That's why people love these groups, and they love having, positive shit blown up their asshole, because it makes them complacent. People are complacent. They're apathetic, They don't want to take care of their shit. They don't want to. Social groups are just a lazy, comfortable way to stay in your muck and wallow in your shit and have an excuse to not heal and do the hard work. This is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, by far. I mean, unbelievably hard. It's hard mentally. It's hard in every way. I mean, it is extremely difficult. And exactly what we're doing is what you hear. I hear it all the time. People are like, oh, don't go that far. Oh, you'll lose your mind. You'll end up going crazy if you do that. Oh, yeah, but you know what? You will if you don't commit to it. You will go crazy if you don't get rid of your attachments, and you're trying to sit by yourself, and you've got all these emotional issues, and that you're addicted to these attachments, and you will go nuts. So it's a breaking of everything. It's becoming a new person. Again, I quit alcohol 2.5 years ago after drinking for over 25 years. Very heavy functioning alcoholic. And past 2.5 years, I don't even think about alcohol. Like we are creating a new man, a new woman. We are creating that new person. I'm not even that person anymore. I can have alcohol all around me. It doesn't faze me. I have no desire for it. So, that is when you know you're healed. That is when you know you're healed, not when you're sitting there fiending and you got to call your sponsor and you got to go to meetings and you got to be around other people who are trying to not drink, and that's fucking nuts. Those are people who haven't healed shit. They haven't gotten to the root problem. Again, we are stuck in the mindset of this Western medicine that we're just dealing with symptoms. The symptom is the drinking, so we're just don't drink. That's the answer. Just don't drink. No, that's not the answer to not drink. The answer is to figure out the problem in the first place. What caused me? What the anxiety? Okay, well, why was I getting anxiety? Oh, because I couldn't face my shit. Okay, well, what shit was that you couldn't face? Oh, I couldn't face the fact that I was abused my whole life. Oh, well, okay, well, why were you abused your whole life? Oh, well, probably because my mother was working out of her ego. Oh, so the ego plays a part of this. Oh, okay, so where's the ego coming from? Oh, when we're born, we're thrown into survival mode, which kicks in the ego and the soul in the back seat. So it's you know what I mean? It's like a digging down. You're like an investigator. You're your own private investigator, figuring out where the source of all these issues. Because until you get to the source, nothing's going to change. You're not going to heal. You're just playing a game.
Yeah. Yeah, no, really, like you said, asking yourself, well, why do I drink? What is it doing for me? And yeah, you realize it's just numbing pain, it's numbing anxiety.
And then you gotta say, well, where is that pain? Where's that anxiety coming from? You can't just go, oh, well, I got pain and anxiety. Because then you'll go, oh, well, how do I get rid of pain and anxiety? Oh, I go to the gym. Oh, I take some pain pills. Oh, I go do this. Oh, I go fuck. Oh, I go, there's 1,000 different things in this world you can do to get rid of pain and anxiety. You got to get below that. You got to say, where is the pain and anxiety coming from? You have to trace this all the way back. And then you have to be courageous and face and honest with yourself and accept whatever the answer is that you give yourself, where the source is of that, and face it. That is the main thing here, because most people just go, oh, the source of my drinking is pain and anxiety. And then they go, well, I know how to get rid of pain and anxiety. Where they look up, how do you get rid of pain and anxiety? And they Google it online, and they're like, oh, and 1,000 different things come up. And they're like, oh, let me pick my new fucking addiction. Yeah, and they just jump from addiction to addiction.
Yep. Anything else? Yeah, no, so that's our perspective on what healing is. Not getting caught up in modalities, healing your mental and emotional baggage, tracing vices all the way back to the root issue, not being and taking time to yourself, regaining that attention, and giving yourself time to sit and contemplate with your thoughts and your urges and such, and just heightening on that awareness and asking questions, like you said, of every thought that slips by and every action you make. Why, how, when, where.
Every thought, word, and action you have to constantly be aware of, constantly, and you have to understand. You have to take the time to think, okay, where's that thought coming from? Why am I having that thought? Is that thought beneficial to me? Is it self-destructive? Is it an excuse? Is it a reason? Is it something that I need to take care of? And you got to face it. Every single thought, word, and action. That's how you're going to reclaim, because that piques your awareness. And that's how you heal, is by piquing your awareness about yourself and what you're doing. Because we have self-destroyed. Now, we got thrown into this at the beginning, and we're programmed to self-destroy. And so by becoming aware, when we're aware, a healthy person is not going to intentionally poison themselves. A healthy person is not going to intentionally do things that are detrimental to their health and well-being. A healthy person doesn't do those things. So, we are not healthy people. And the reason we're not healthy people is because we were taught and programmed to not be healthy people. Why? Because not being healthy keeps us in this system, these abusive systems, and attached to these abusive addictions that we're all attached to.
Yeah.
So, again, I mean, the main thing is being honest with yourself and tracing these things all the way back to the source, and not taking, not justifying and going, oh, I've spent 2 hours and it's been such a headache thinking about myself today and my problems. I deserve a quart of ice cream, Ben and Jerry's, and a soda, and I'm going to watch a movie, and I'm going to put my feet up, and I'm going to smoke a blunt, and oh man, that'll make me feel so better because I deserve it. And that's the ego. Now you're going right back to ego. So you just jumped out of your soul search back into ego again, right back into your shit. So you started work on your problems, you spent a little time on your problems, and now you're going to go and feed the addictions and feed the things that broke you and got you diseased and everything else in the first place. You got to understand, we don't deserve these things. The ego deserves them. The ego deserves all that because the ego seeks nothing but distraction and pleasures, but in self-destruction. But the soul, the true man, the true woman, the authentic self does not deserve things that poison and destroy them. Period. It's that simple. And to sit, so you got to recognize these programs that you're under,
Yeah. Shoot, I want to hit on one thing you said. It left my head, but
yeah.
So, yeah. If you're, and that's the thing. Like he said, she spends 2 hours working on herself, but then it makes her so uncomfortable that she spends the next 8 hours indulging in the pleasures which keep you sick, dumb, and confused. Like he's been reading from You Are the Placebo, Joe Dispenza's book, breaking a habit, it's a moment by moment thing. It's an action by action thing. It's a choice by choice thing. It's not making one choice out of the thousands of choices you make that day. It's every choice you make. Because you're either going two paths on the choices you make. You're either aligning yourself more towards your enslavement and your ego, which feeds that side, which makes that side stronger, or you're feeding the side that leads you to your authenticity, your true nature, and that, living in truth, fact, and reality, And the reason why this path is so hard is because we're so familiar with the ego and we're so familiar with our enslavement, So getting out of that, we have to continuously choose that which puts us in alignment over here with reclaiming our sovereignty, getting back into truth, fact, and reality, living honestly and such. Yeah. So, every action made is critical.
Everything you do matters.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, in the beginning and such, you may do an action that feeds your ego. Let's say you sit down, watch a movie, or, it's not about beating yourself up when you do those things, but it's about being aware that you do those things.
Yes.
And asking yourself, why is it that I have to watch a movie or I have to get a box of pizza to make me come back to ease, to bring me peace, to bring me sanity, that we think, right? But yeah, to reduce that anxiety. Like, it's not about always being in the beginning, always being on this path and driving yourself nuts and going through. I mean, you can take it that way. It's doable, but everyone has their own experience, and but it's anytime you do fall into this path is being aware of it, catching it. Eventually, you catch it before it even happens, and then you just, like he said, once you start becoming more aware and you heighten your awareness. When you heighten your awareness, what comes with that is the faculties of your mind start working more. So it's like the machine that's been moving like this, you start using those parts in your brain, and the blood starts flowing over there, it's gonna start, so you're using muscles that were never being used before. You're recovering the things that have been diminished, and such. So yeah.
Yeah, and you're not. If you're sitting there chastising yourself, and what I mean by personal responsibility and discipline is not by abusive means. You are not going to abusively tell you, motherfucker, you better fucking do this. No, that's how we got that's how we learned these abusive programs that we're on right now. This is a whole different thing. Like he said, what I mean by personal responsibility and discipline is being completely honest with yourself, honest and aware. Because when you sit there, okay, and you're at the beginning of your journey, and you're like, okay, I haven't, and then you indulge and you do something, it's recognizing, okay, why am I doing it? Why am I thinking? And then tasting that ice cream, or watching that movie that's making fun of your shit, or listening to these politicians that are chastising you and telling you what you need to do when they're $30 trillion in debt, or whatever it is, and going, well, why is this bringing me pleasure? Am I pleased right now? Is this, and it's questioning these things. That's what it is. It's not sitting there going, oh, I need this, and then having it, and then going, oh my God, I hate myself, I'm a piece of shit, I fucking can't do anything right. No, that's the abusive programming that was programmed into you.
And then you force a 2-hour workout the next day. Yeah. So you're not punishing yourself when it's just recognizing and accepting, and the next time you go to do it, you catch yourself and you choose differently in that moment that you're about to do something self-destructive.
Yeah, and what helps you do this, maybe it takes you a few months of going back and still indulging, but every time you indulge, say, why am I indulging? What is it? Is this ice cream healthy for me, or is it bad for me? Do your research on ice cream. Okay, look, everything in this ice cream, there's 30 ingredients in this ice cream. 28 of them are highly toxic to the human body. So why am I ingesting them? Why do I keep saying I deserve to have this? Why does this make me feel so good? So you start answering those questions, and then you get a reason for why you're doing these things. Then you understand, oh, the only reason I'm doing these things is through addiction. It's an addiction. Okay, why am I addicted? What is it that I'm addicted to? Oh, it's all the chemicals. Oh, it's releasing dopamine in my head that's making me feel good, temporarily. And that makes sense, because as soon as I'm done with the ice cream, I feel like shit again, and then I want more ice cream. So you're being a thoughtful person. You're pulling yourself out of being a mindless group-thinking minion and a slave-minded zombie, and you're actually starting to use the processes of your faculties of your mind, and your reasoning and intelligence and your will and all that, because all that's tied in. So that, again, this is reclaiming your wholeness. Just by being alone and thinking about these things, you're doing something different you haven't done your whole life. You're using your mind. So now you're reclaiming the faculties of your mind. You're becoming whole again, because the faculties of your mind have been stolen by all of these propagandists and these teachers and these gurus and these politicians and these religious leaders, and your friends and your social groups, and everybody else has stolen your faculty of reason. You haven't been thinking. You've just been stuck in groupthink. So you've just been like an automaton, just going along.
Being told what to think, being told what to like, being told what to work towards, being told what to idolize and worship, being told, so you've never had to really sit and think. Everything's just been scripted for you.
Yeah, so just know that every time you sit with yourself and you think through these things, like he said, you're oiling the wheels of your own machine now. Instead of oiling the machine out there with all your attention, now you're oiling your machine. You're oiling your mind and getting those mechanisms working, and dusting off all the parts that work on your machine. And that as you do it, you see how powerful. The more you do it, it just compounds, and you just see how it works and how it releases you from stress and anxiety, and by not participating in those things. Like right now, when you're indulging and you're addicted to all these things, you're like, how in the fuck could I ever live without those things? You're crazy. There's no way I'd ever give up those things. But when you start pulling away and you start thinking for yourself, and instead of spending that time in those things, you spend that time to yourself, and it compounds. After a month of doing that, man, you look back and you're like, wow, I really am taking care of myself now. I really am proving myself that I'm worthy. And yeah.
And yeah, that's another thing to note about the healing is not just looking at the destination, not even trying to predict what the destination's going to look like, because we have no clue. We are so far from our true nature and our wholeness.
One way to get unmotivated from healing is to look in way deep in the future and what's my healing going to look like, because you're so far away from it. The most powerful thing you can do is just be aware. Don't even think about tomorrow. Start training yourself to not even think about tomorrow. Think about right now, because right now is the only moment that matters. And what helped me with that is, I would just constantly, to an almost obsessive point, think every day how as soon as I get in my car, I could get in an accident and die. It's that easy. That's why it's called an accident. Not because of me, but I can get in my car and drive, and somebody can fucking run into me and kill my ass. And so I would just think about that, and it just, and process it, and, all the other ways that you can just die like that, out of nowhere, like unexpectedly, all the ways people die. And I'm like, man, why would you focus on any moment other than the here and now? This is all we literally have, because thinking in the future just causes severe anxiety. It really compounds your anxiety.
Yeah.
Because you realize you're not there yet, and then you're like, I gotta get there, Whereas no, the only place you gotta get is right here, Yeah, that's a good practice, just being aware and in the moment.
Yeah, that's a good note though, on not worrying about the future of it, not expecting anything in the future. Just knowing that you're having the courage and the discipline to stay true on the path and stay true to yourself and make choices that prove that you love yourself and you respect yourself, and just just know that when doing that, it'll lead you right where you need to be.
Yeah, and every time you catch yourself lying to yourself, be like, no, motherfucker, you're not going to lie to you. I caught you. You're making excuses again. You're justifying your bad behaviors and your addictions. You're justifying your self-destruction. No. Let's be honest about this. And the honesty with yourself is a very powerful one, because we've been lying to ourselves our whole lives. We've been justifying every self-destructive behavior and addiction we have. Yep. So, starting with being honest with ourselves is one of the most powerful things you can do, besides being constantly aware and in the moment. Being honest with yourself. And when you catch yourself lying to yourself, be like, okay, I caught you. Keep yourself, it's personal responsibility. That's what it is. And it's not, oh, I caught you, I'm going to beat the fuck out of you now. It's, I caught you, you're not going to get away with this. If we're going to do this, we're going to be honest with ourselves, and then going from there.
Yeah, and like you said, not beating yourself up for lying to yourself, but recognizing it and knowing that you've only been lying to yourself because, your conditioning, your programming, it was your survival instincts.
Yeah.
It's your only way of knowing how to operate in this society. So, it's catching those things and just saying, oh, wow,
why did I lie to myself?
Yeah, and and wow, I must be so broken, damaged, hurt in some way to be doing that to myself,
Yeah.
And, it's going to be a process, but I'm going to continue catching myself with these things and choosing better when I do catch myself. Yeah. But yeah, like we said, it's not about 100% right at the start, 100% always on the right path. It's like you said, I'm glad you hit on that, is the honesty part.
So
being
important.
honesty. It's not just being aware, because you can be aware, and I mean that's what I was doing. I was aware, but I was like, hey, yeah. But it's being aware and honest about it. You know, seeing it for exactly what it is. Okay, I am participating in this, but what is it doing to me? How is it gonna make me feel in the future? How does it make me feel every time? Where does it come from? What does it support? What companies does it support? This and that, you know.
Yeah,
So,
why am I doing it? If it's not beneficial to me, why am I doing it? Why the fuck am I still doing it?
you know,
Yeah, and that, I mean, you got to be your own detective, you know, your own private investigator. Yeah.
all right. So,
Anything else you wanted to touch on?
no, yeah, I mean, we talked about the value of our attention, how attention leads to worshiping, you know.
And of course, people can leave, you know, questions or whatever, and we answer them. But
Yeah, no, we covered everything.
okay, cool, very nice.
Yep, and yeah, it's just interesting to think, you know, what if you never have to heal? What would it be like to just be whole? Yeah.
Yeah. Just remember to take care of yourself, because nobody else will, guys. Nobody else will.